here we are. I can see that we are live on air. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first hangout for the VELUX EHF Champions League in 2017. It's great to have you here. It's great to have a very exclusive lineup of guests joining us today, and very special guest, Dominik Klein, who joins us actually from Braga, where he's in Nantes, HBC on Saturday. Hi, Dominik.
Hi, bonjour. I don't know how it's in Portuguese, but hola, hola, peut-être.
Bonjour or something. Bonjour. Something like that.
Bonjour.
Something like that. I don't know.
I think seeing that we've got incredible language abilities here, we do what we talked about before, and we do this whole hangout in French. So, bonjour.
Bonjour tout le monde. Je suis très content que la belle France est champion du monde.
Well, I think
Bon accent
from France. Got that, and Dominik obviously as well. Kevin, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. Bonjour and guten Tag.
Chris, Gaelic, German, or English?
Bonjour, very good. And guten Tag, anything you like. Hello. Good afternoon.
Well, I've got two ehfTV commentators here. One French journalist who's, a world champion as a journalist, and one HBC Champions League winner. I mean, what am I going to do here? Well, I'll try and host this thing. So great to have everyone here on board. Again, very welcome to you, Dominik. Going straight in with you. Your first season at Nantes. Let's talk us a bit through it. How did you experience it? With Nantes' first Champions League season, you're top of your group, so it can't have been too bad at all.
You say it is the first season in Champions League in the history of the club. We do it very great. We have a great wave for the first half of the season. Now I say it's just the first half, so we have to be focused. And now on Wednesday we had the first match in the league, and I think this week will be very important to have a victory against Braga for the last match in the group phase, and then I think we can start the wave again.
Kevin, how do the French media look at Nantes and their first run in the Champions League?
Well, I think it's not a surprise because over the past few years, Nantes has been building some kind of momentum, but step by step. I mean, even 4 years ago, they were already in the EHF Cup final. They reached it last year again. And I think when you watched them last season, it felt like they were ready, to go in the Champions League and to finally take part in the biggest handball event. So it's no surprise that they're doing well. The surprise is that they're doing well both in the French league and in the HBC Champions League. Usually, when you watch newcomers, they tend to focus only on the Champions League and not on the national league. Whereas Nantes at this time is doing very well on both competitions.
What was it like for you personally, Dominik, your first 6 months in France?
Me?
I'm sorry, I heard the question.
What was it like for you personally, your first 6 months in France?
First of all, I have to say it was a huge step for me and for us as a family to come from a club like THW Kiel and the last 10 years in the Bundesliga, or maybe 15 years in the Bundesliga, to come to a project where it's for a longer time. So I'm proud to be a part of this. And the most important for us is that from the beginning, from the first day, it feels it feels good and it feels right to do this step. And yeah, what we do in the last 6 months, it was great. We have a lot of experienced players, and we go. Yeah, how I say it was a great wave to go from one victory to another, and to play every 3 days. A little bit it's the same like in Kiel the last year. So I can put in my experience for this level and for this niveau, and it's very great.
You saw Nantes at the Cup final in May.
I did. They were rubbish, Thomas. They were one of the worst teams I ever saw. I'm sure they're much better now with Dominik there. No, I know where you're going there. I have to say, organizationally, fantastic. Some really, really good players at the club. I love the French style of handball, and I think that we're maybe as commentators and maybe even working with the Champions League, we tend to sort of forget that Group C and D are there. And I don't mean forget that they're there, but we're more focused on sort of the big teams. You know, I mean, Dominik himself would say right now, I'm sure if we asked him what's going on in Group A and B, he'd have an inkling. But when he was in Group A and B, I would imagine he had no clue at all about what was going on down in C and D. So it's great to see top players in this group, and it's great to see top teams. And when you look and you think to yourself that there's Nantes, Zaporozhye, who we all know, who are right there on the coattails of Nantes. And then you've got Naturhaus La Rioja, again in the other group, and a team that I'm sure Dominik knows quite well now, Montpellier. And you've got these very 4 strong teams fighting it out for those top 4 spaces. Group C and D suddenly seems something that you can get your teeth into, you know. But I have to say, when I saw what was happening at Nantes, the town, the fans, I said to myself, looks strong, you know. There looks like there's a good foundation there, and it doesn't surprise me that they're in the Champions League. I thought that they had enough quality to be able to go on there. Sorry, is somebody playing the drums in the background while I'm talking?
Like someone's desperately trying to get into someone's door outside.
Yeah, I don't know.
No. If you want an espresso in this bar near behind me, you can order it now, and I will send you.
But Thomas, in answer to your question, it was I had missed the original one that Nantes had hosted, and I saw this one, and I said to myself, because I had spoken to Dominik as well. You remember, Dominik? We met in Kiel, and Dominik had explained to me that he was going to Nantes, and I remember thinking, actually, it's a good fit, and I think that they wanted you for that kind of defensive something you brought to a team, not just the offensive style, right, Dominik?
Yeah, that's a player who I am, and what I want to give in a team, and that's the maybe thing as a wing player to be focused and to be, because in attack you have to get the ball from your players. For instance, you can do a little bit more. Yeah, movement. You can a little bit more to play with fints. I don't know if it's called like that, but I like to play in defense, and so.
But by the way, Thomas, we shouldn't forget that Dominik made the top 5 goals in France this week, with a very nice little lob there from the left wing, little broken wrist. He didn't even know he made that. Oh, there you go. Top 5.
Chris, when we talk about Group C and D at that stage, obviously looking at the knockout games, when we are looking then at the potential opponents they could face from Group A and B. From what you've seen, the team can bring a surprise, even against one of the second place teams from A.
Well, I think that's always the big question, you know, ever since last year when we first had this format, and The question is whether the team could actually challenge the second place team. And if you look at it now, and I think if Nantes were to go on and win the group and win the playoff, then they could be facing PSG in the last 16. And I think for Dominik and for the other guys from Nantes, if they were to choose a game that they felt they could do something, then it could be against PSG, against their French rivals. Looking at the other group, then if Montpellier would come through, or I mean, in the other group, Group B, who knows who's going to finish second? If we're just talking about Dominik and about Nantes, we could ask him himself, but I think they have some good chances against PSG. I mean, they have nothing to lose, and if there's a choose between Barcelona or PSG or Barcelona,
well, I'll get that question to Dominik. Looking at the impact and thinking positively, would PSG be opponent in the last 16 matches?
If this was a question for me, I don't. I had a little bit problems with the connection, but try again.
If we think positively that you with Nantes reach the last 16 of the Champions League and that you make it beyond these knockout games, would PSG a team a preferred opponent for you?
I try to understand the question because the connection is not so good, but I heard that we want to come, or if you think about us that we come to the last 16, that will be a great success for us, for the team, for the club, because you never know in your first season of the Champions League, you never know how it works, and also that we are 7 or 8 new players in the team. Yeah, but if we win this match tomorrow, we are the first in the group, and then we play against La Rioja, and so yeah, there's also tough matches because they are knockouts. We will play first away and then at home with our public. Maybe it can be an advantage for us. But yeah, that's cool to go in this round for matches. And maybe
but Dominik, can you hear me?
Yes.
I think the question they said was, let's say you win this and you get to play second place in one of the groups, and it would be PSG. Would you be happier to play against another French team in that situation rather than maybe Vesprem or Barcelona? Would that be a bigger advantage for you?
Okay. I think just one sentence to the connection. I heard every time you, Tom. So maybe you can. I don't know if it's something technically because you have no headset, but no. Now I understand the question, and you never know. Now it's not. Normally, it's not my opinion to talk about a match against Barcelona or against Paris. Of course, maybe everybody knows about the match in December when we play against them in the league. It was a great match in an XXL arena also for the World Championships, where it was a great atmosphere for the French group. But you never know, because Barcelona, for example, is also a great match in a great arena, and you know me, like the last years, I just want to look forward to the next match, and that is Braga, and then we are first, and then we see what happens.
He learned at Kiel, didn't he, Thomas? You know, it's always the next game up there. Always the next game.
But nevertheless, Kevin, let's turn that question around and look at Paris. Would Nantes be the team they would fear the most if they came second and had to play one from team from Group C and D?
I don't know if Nantes would be the team that Paris fears the most, but I think that everybody in French handball would hate to see French clubs competing against each other. If you talk to Thierry Antier at the beginning of the week, he was like, we really want to win in Braga, so we don't play against Montpellier in this playoff round, and then we don't want to face PSG because he sees the thing as a global competition, and he wants the most French clubs to go as far as possible in the competition. I think Paris won't have that they fear anybody. It's like this team can beat anybody, but Nantes, historically in the last couple of years, has been one of the teams that has caused the most problems for Paris. We showed that just before Christmas when Nantes won against Paris. So I don't think Nantes would be the ideal opponent for Paris. I think if you ask Loka or if you ask Nicolas Karabatic, he'd rather play against, I don't know, Motozapa or Nasser Larioha. I think Nantes wouldn't be the ideal opponent for Paris.
It's those purple jerseys, Thomas. I mean, who wears a purple jersey with yellow? It just puts the rest of the teams off when they play against them,
Guys, let's move a bit away from Nantes and let's have a look at what happened most recently in the lead up to the second part of the season. And Chris, one of the big news was obviously Vesprem signing Raniers as their new head coach from summer onwards. Is that something that surprised you? I mean, we have seen rumors but Chris?
Sorry, I surprised me. Maybe you can share across to the next room or just repeat the end of it.
Do you want to come here?
I heard most of it, just not the end.
Your opinion on Vesprem signing Raniers as head coach from the summer onwards?
Well, I mean, something that we heard was in the pipeline for a while. There was these rumors going around, so it wasn't such a surprise. There was also a bit of thought.
I think we've a technical difficulty in the office there, Thomas.
We have that.
Not any better?
Oh, that's much better, Chris.
Yeah, okay, good. I tried it without the headphones for a second. That was a bad idea. So I'll start again. I don't think it was such a surprise for a while because there were these discussions going on. These rumors about him being signed by Vesprem, and he wasn't shy about talking about it as well towards the end of the World Championship. There was also a lot of talk from the Hungarian media and the fans about his position and not being so happy about him as coach. But I mean, it's hard for a coach, I think, to know that he's finished after this season. It's a tough situation for him. Maybe it could have been dealt with in a better way. But if they need to make that decision now, then so be it. But I'm really interested to see how Sabate and his players deal with this situation now and how they continue on, whether they can make the most out of the season now, knowing that he's leaving at the end of it, or whether they're already looking forward to the next one.
What do you think, Tom?
Well, we may be shut down for what I think about it, Thomas. I think it's shocking the way it's been dealt with. I mean, Chris has been very diplomatic about it there. I think it's understood in sport that you don't talk about another job when there's a guy there. You just don't do it, But then I understand also in handball that maybe there's not as much money that there would be in football. It's not like, somebody's going to suddenly pay you You know, if they fire you, they're going to pay you an awful lot of money, or that you've made enough money that you can never work again the rest of your life. So I understand from Lubo Vranje's point of view that he spoke about he wants to be close to his family or his parents who are still living back in Serbia. And I understand that 100%. But I think there's an unwritten rule, and we're losing sight of it in sport, and we're losing sight of it in handball, that you don't wash your dirty laundry in public, you know? And like only last year, Xavi Sabate was 1 goal. And like, I mean, sorry, he was 9 goals and 12 minutes away from winning a Champions League, and he's a hero. I don't know whether that would have changed the story. But suddenly it's considered he's not up to the job. And I find that very difficult because he stepped into a difficult situation. He took over from his best friend when Carlos Ortega was originally sacked. He led the team almost to the Champions League. He took over the Hungarian national team, which had a disaster in Poland, and he reinstilled some confidence in them. They beat one of the big teams and eventually maybe just run out of legs in the tournament. So, you know, you don't become a bad coach overnight. And I just kind of feel like that part of the story leaves a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth. I don't like when things happen like that. And it's not that I don't think that Lubo Vranje is a fantastic coach. He is. And it's not that I don't think that he would be great for Veszprém. I think he very well may be. But wait until the season's over. Keep it under wraps. They can deal with the clubs internally. SG know where they are, Veszprém know where they are, and then leave it till the end of the season, and then nobody looks bad. But I think nobody comes out of this looking good at all. That's my own personal opinion. Nobody comes out of this looking good. And when I read about it, I really didn't feel good, because I like Lubo and I like Xavi Sabate, and I was reading this and I was saying, good Lord, if that was me, how would I feel? And I wouldn't feel good. That's being perfectly honest about it.
I thought I was going to say something. Do you think it's possible they could have kept it under wraps until the end of the season? I mean, there was so much chat about it until then, and you know, maybe they thought that we just have to get the facts out there and have it sorted in public, and then try to make the best of the situation.
Why? Why do you need to do that? Why do players need to know who's coaching? If the coach is there for the rest of the season, he's the coach. You now ask yourself how much that takes away from the guy in place. I mean, the thing about it is, we love to discuss. Who remembers when Lubo was going to take over PSG, when Talent was going to go here? We all love to discuss where everybody's going. In the end of the day, you know, if it's a player moving from one club to another, that's fine. But he doesn't say, I'm taking the left, like Dominik moving to Nantes, I'm taking the left wing's position there. He's not wanted anymore and I'm going. That doesn't happen. You just hear the player's contract and he's going there, and so on and so forth. But this is a little bit different. So no, Chris, I don't agree. I think the press can ask. I think the media can ask, but the clubs can still say, sorry, we have no story for you until the end of the season. Then there's no problem.
Well, I kind of disagree on this, because at some point, you know, as the end of the season would have been nearer, everybody would have been talking to, you know, about, is Lubo coming to Veszprém or is he not? Whereas on, you know, now you say it, everybody's clear, everybody knows that Lubo's coming, and now you can get on with something else. You know, I mean, at some point, as a player, and as, you know, if you look at Xavi Sabate's position, at some point, if everybody around you is asking whether you're going to be replaced at the end of the season or not, it's not very comfortable. Whereas now everything's clear, you know, and you can get on with the end of the season, and then, you know, I don't know.
Well, okay, I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's ask Dominik.
Yeah, I was about to ask. Yeah,
he's a player. If he knows the coach is going at the end of the season, Dominik, does that change somehow the psychology of the situation? If you know in January that coach will be gone by June or July.
I think it's not the problem for the players who are in the team he coached. So it's not the problem for the players who play in Flensburg. But maybe you have a player who want to go from Veszprem to Flensburg because he want to play under Lubomir Franis. What you do? So he have to talk to him. Rest in your team. I will come.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So you think it's good that they announced it? Do you think it's that they should announce it?
Yeah. Yes, but because I, as a player, I want to learn from a coach. I want to go to the training. I want to learn each training, each match from the coach. For sure, as a young player, and as I read that Lubomir Franis do also a good work with the club, with the younger teams and with the youth in Flensburg, that they make a concept for the next years he created with. So that can be, it's not just a trainer is not just for the first team and for the professional team, in my opinion. They have to be on the if he's a trainer to watch to the youth, to the whole club. He have to talk with the trainers in the youth. You have to make a concept and have to be open for them to come to learn from him, because he's the coach from the professional team. And then, in my opinion, as a trainer of a younger team, I want to go there. I want to go him. I want to ask him some question if I have problems on the weekend in the 3rd division or 2nd division. Maybe he can help with his experience to these young coaches.
Yeah, but the idea that everybody knows in January now that he will move to Veszprem, you think that's okay?
Yes, because as a player in the last years, or in the first years in Kiel, you know, as a player the same. You know where is the next Christmas in your life.
Okay. All right. Okay, that's fair enough.
But does that, Dominik, if I can just ask one, does that also apply to Veszprem players, and the fact that they know that they are coached by a coach who will leave in half a year's time? Yes, they will have a great coach afterwards. But what about this 6 months coming?
For the Veszprem players?
Yeah.
I think it's the same. Maybe we can change the situation like the situation for the national players of Germany who have the last tournament with Dago Sigurdsson, for example. I think that's not, for me as a player, I want to win.
Yeah, but that's not a very good example. That's not a very good example, Thomas. Yeah. Germany didn't exactly do great in the last championship, you know.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Of course, but as a player, I think you're on the same boat. Like the trainer and the team is on the same boat, and you want to bring it to the port and to the final on from to Cologne, and so it doesn't matter.
Okay. That's interesting. It's interesting to get that perspective, Thomas, because for us, you know, we're media, we're looking on the outside, especially Kevin. He's looking for the news story, you know. He's looking for the juicy details, and he needs to know, and he needs to know tomorrow what the story is so he can go to bed at night and sleep and not worry about whether or not Ljubo Vranjes or Xavi Sabati are the coach of Veszprem. But no, I think, Thomas, I think that we kind of maybe are going into a world of where now feelings no longer matter. And that worries me, because I like that about handball, that feelings do matter, that there's a certain amount of care taken in the way things are handled. And with all, and you know, with all these chopping changes, I mean, look at the Croatian coaching team got fired or were let go after the World Championships because they didn't make it to the final. There was somebody said there was no step forward. And I'm kind of going, what do they need to do? They were 7 meter away from the final. I just feel that decisions are being so quickly made. And look at Veszprem. Veszprem may have gotten Vranjes, but now you have to ask yourself as Vranjes, is that job as secure as a Flensburg job, which seemed to me to be very secure? Is the Veszprem job, because they demand huge success down there. In other words, every year you must win the Hungarian. Probably now you must win the Seha. And now it seems to me you must be in the Final Four every year. Flensburg didn't demand that. That was like a bonus, you know?
Mm.
And the national team on top of that.
That's right.
And the national team on top of that, right. Right.
Well, I think he has a huge challenge ahead of him. But you said Kevin wants the news tomorrow, which is a very nice bridge to the match of the week. And Chris, you'll be commentating in West Brom against Barcelona tomorrow. From what we've heard, in particular, you know, the big question: how will the team react to excuse me, the news about the coaching change? What do you expect of the game tomorrow?
I mean, I think it's always hard this first game after the World Championship as well, because it's not just the situation of the players reacting to this coaching news, but also all of those players who just came back from France and both teams who were active at the World Championship. Some who had good tournaments, particularly the two French boys for Barcelona, and some who didn't. But I mean, the Hungarian guys must be on a high after their big win over Denmark in the last 16. I think there are 5 of them in the squad. But yeah, they've been back with their clubs a couple of weeks now. I think both had some league games. Barcelona won both fairly easily. West Brom won theirs fairly easily, also in the Seha League. I mean, it's hard to draw anything from that really, because it's a completely different ball game tomorrow, and it makes it quite exciting for me as well, because there's so little we know about these two teams, and I think we go back 2 years out, or last year after the Euro, and Barcelona looked a different animal after the Euro. 2 years ago, after the World Championship, they exploded as a completely new team on the road to winning the Champions League. So there's a big question there to see how their players reacted. I think the thing that we cannot predict is how West Brom will react. They're at home; they have that advantage always. I think for the 60 minutes, maybe the coaching news won't matter. Maybe when they go back into Champions League mode, when they have the big opposition like Barcelona against them, none of the news from the last week or two will matter. And so when we talk about reacting, I don't think there's any reacting to be done. They will just deal with the challenge in front of them.
Dominik, from your experience, what weighs more, like after a World Championship, the fact that you have played many games and you're tired, or the fact that you might have had a very successful championship like the French players, like the Norwegian players, and that even though you don't have a longer break, you return to your club on a high?
No, it's totally different. When I'm 2007 with a World Championship to come home, but it's just 1 week after. In this year we play against Hamburg, one of the most important matches in the season. So for the players, it's not good to get a World Champion and to cannot feel and think about this. What happened as the French players in Nantes, where they play in the group first, then in Lille in a football stadium, after in Bercy. It's unbelievable. You cannot imagine what happened with your brain, with your psychology. I don't know. You need time for that. And but the other way around is when you lost a match like the Croatian. You saw Dominik in the match against Flensburg. He was so hot. He wanted to win again. So it can be also the way around to motivate more if you lost the match like they did. So yeah, it will be nice to see how every player have to confuse it and to prepare for his own mentality. And there we are as a performance coaching. I've ever said about that in our team sport, it's not so often that players work on your mentality, on your mental differences, and I think that can help each player for his own performance. And but now we will see.
Tom, what do you think we will see in Veszprém?
Well, I mean, I remember the game Barcelona when they beat Veszprém by 3 goals earlier in the season. And look, the guy you need to be asking this question actually is Dominik Klein. Once they've stopped serving lunch in whatever restaurant he's in, all I hear are 4 the espresso's getting made. I think when it comes to top teams playing against each other, it's small things on the day. So, for instance, if Dominik mentioned the Kiel Flensburg game. Now, it seemed to me that Eggert could have got a red card very early in the game, but didn't. Small thing, but it could change. And then Toft Hansen does get a red card, and it's quite clearly a huge mistake by the referees when Glandorf comes in with his elbow. Toft Hansen doesn't do anything. So the margins are tiny. They're really small between teams, and it sometimes is you break up two attacks, 2 fast breaks, and the game is over. And it comes down to those tight little margins. The fact of the matter is that Barcelona, for somehow this season, because they shouldn't be doing as well as they're doing, they don't look like a team when you looked at the start. They shouldn't be brilliant, but they are. And they're winning goals by the odd game, and you see it, you know. All right, they lost badly, I think, against Paris, didn't they? They lost badly against Paris. But they've won games, really games that they shouldn't have been winning, they're winning. But having said that, Veszprém at home are very strong. And I thought Veszprém could easily have won that game in Barcelona, and it was just 1 or 2 little mistakes, and Barcelona win by 3. So I think when these top teams are playing against each other, it comes down sometimes to the last 5 minutes, and whoever's still got some air in the lungs, some strength in the legs, and something still happening up in the head, that can be it. And 1 goalkeeper save can make the difference in the game. I would say that probably Veszprém, if is Nodge playing? Chris, have you heard?
He played in the league game. He said he should be fit for it.
All right, okay, because I know
he's struggling a bit, but he should be okay. Yeah.
All right, I think if Nodge is playing, they always look better. That would be my. And by the way, they have such a huge amount of players, but with him, they just look. They look more balanced. They look better, and I think that Sabate relies on him a lot. So as well. So I think that if he's playing, they have a good chance to beat this Barcelona team.
Kevin, are you expecting a close game as well?
Yeah, I think I am. I was looking at the schedule, and there are 5 games left for each team. And if you look at Barcelona's schedule, this game in Veszprém is probably the hardest that they'll face until the end of the group phase. So it almost looks like, you know, if they win, they'll secure the first place. They'll secure the first place. It might give them some extra motivation. Veszprém has already played twice this week, and I think some of them are just. I talked to Andreas Nielsen during the World Championship about the Veszprém situation. It was like, you know, we're not fighting for the first place anymore. We're not even fighting for the second place anymore. So it sounded a bit like, you know, we're happy with the first spot, and maybe we'll just stick to it. And that might not be the extra push of motivation that we might get. You know, top players are always very excited about playing these top games, but it feels like Veszprém has already made up its mind and that they'll end up in the third spot. And it sounded strange, but I think Barcelona might you know, take advantage from it, especially since if they win, they'll probably end up first of the group at the end.
It's a dangerous game. Sorry, Thomas. It's a dangerous game to play. I mean, Veszprém have played a game less, haven't they? Do they not have to play Cadet and Schaffhausen again? Do they not have to play? Huh?
That was Flensburg.
Oh, that's what I meant. Flensburg have to play Cadet and Schaffhausen, yeah. Right, which will put them ahead of them in third place, and it's a dangerous game to play, to sort of say we're going to go for third place. You know, you have to play every game on its merits, I think.
Dominik, from your experience from last season in particular, at what time did you start looking at the ranking in that group of 8 teams and kind of say, okay, where do we finish? What does that mean?
If I try again, or Tom, try again, because I heard you go better.
Basically, what Thomas wants to know is, how did your beautiful wife marry you? What was it? Was it the money? No, he said. At what stage do teams start thinking about the ranking, about where we might be and who we might play, and does that come into play when you're in these group phases?
I think this 8 teams in a group, like the last year, is very different, because every match is so hard for the players. It will be for your body and for your career. It's not good to have this group time. Because, like we now see that West Brom have to beat Barcelona, or have also matches against Flensburg and Kiel. It's, in my opinion, it's too much. And for the fans, maybe it's not surprising. Or before a Champions League season, you watch to the draw. Hopefully there is one team in a maybe when there was 4 teams in a group, you have a great match against Barcelona. Now if you do season, as a Kiel fan, for example, you have minimum 4 or 5 great matches. Okay, that's good, but that's not. I don't know how to say that. The esprit, the passion for that. If you get it every year, that's maybe
too much chocolate.
The answer of your question. But you saw in our experience last year, we get 5th place or 1st place, I think, to play against Barcelona for the quarterfinal. So
you're right.
I think Barcelona, in their experience last year, I think they wanted to be second, to have a KO match in the quarterfinals. What was first?
You played Szeged. You played Szeged first, and then you played Barcelona, right?
Yeah, but I want to say is that for Barcelona, for example, they have no KO matches.
Correct.
And then they come to Kiel for a match where they have so much pressure, because they have to go to the Final Four. And then, it's going like that. We won with 5 or 6 goals. At the end, we go to the Final Four.
Yeah,
this is for the ranking. It's not.
Yeah. This is my point. This is my point, Thomas. It's a dangerous game to play, to say I want to be 3rd or I want to be 4th because I will get this team. Because when it comes to that level of game, these teams are so close to each other. One decision by a referee. I'm not saying that referees, by the way, I love referees, but one decision can change a game, and one missed shot can change a game. And so there's no such thing as forward planning in this, to say, it's great to say we come first, we've 2 weeks break. But as Dominik just said there, sometimes 2 weeks break is not what you want at that time, because the other guys come in and they're still in the fight and they're match ready, and the other guys maybe have 2 weeks break. Sometimes it's good for the body, but sometimes it's not good for the mind. You never know. It's sport. That's what's great about it, you know. You never know.
Kevin, let's have a quick look at PSG and the team that finished first in the power rankings, and the team that coming back to the World Championship topic, quite a few teams benefiting from that French medal. Would you agree?
I didn't quite hear the question.
Yes. So basically, Kevin, what Thomas said is, how come every time you appear on the Google Hangout, it sounds like there's an ice cream truck sitting outside your house?
I'm not in charge this time, I think. It's not me. Not this time.
I think Thomas basically wants to know how much of an effect the amount of gold medals from the World Championship are going to have on this PSG team going forward in the Champions League.
I think it gave them a huge boost of confidence. I mean, I watched them play in the French League on Wednesday, and you know, they didn't use Nikola Karabatic for 30 minutes, and Noka chose to give playing time to a lot of players, but it seemed that they looked unstoppable. So I don't know if it's going to last. And I think they're playing Bjerringbro Silkeborg this weekend. Should be a win, I mean, logically. But I think it's going to give them a huge boost of confidence. The fact that Mikkel Hansen stopped the competition at the World Championship in the last 16 phase gave him a couple of days to rest, something that he didn't do since July. And I think that if you looked at the previous, European Championships, players like Nikola Karabatic and his brother and Thierry Omeyer and stuff, they were all playing 60 minutes in the important games. Whereas this time, Didier Dinard made the choice to give playing time to everybody. So I think PSG players are now more rested than they were at this time of year, last year. So I think it's going to help them both physically and mentally. And the fact that they are easy, use the brackets, games to begin with, both in the French League and in the Champions League, is going to give them the confidence. You know, that it's going to launch them for the rest of the season.
Thomas, there is a TV show where someone asks a question and then someone else needs to paraphrase it or so. I think it would be brilliant. That kind of.
Yeah, I think Thomas, one of the big decisions that's been great for Paris is that finally Noka Srdarusic, of all the coaches in the world that have ever coached Mikkel Hansen, has realised he can't defend to save his life. And they take him off from the defence, which gives him, by the way, a lot of time to relax, which is great because he can sit down and he's on and off, and he can just put. Dominik's laughing there. He can actually just do what he does best, which is score, which is really what he does best. And so not only has he got the break from the last 16 where they were beaten by Hungary, but also the coach, he's not playing 60 minutes anymore, which is great for him, because I always thought a liability is not the right word for Hansen in defence, but he's not as good in defence as he is in attack. So that's been a big bonus for them. And then secondly, where the hell did this guy Remeli come from? I mean, I know he came from US Créteil. Does anybody even know where that is? He came from there. Where the hell did this guy come from? It's like, the guy's unbelievable. He's absolutely brilliant. And he was brilliant in the World Championships. How old is he? 12? He's like the youngest player in the world ever, playing for Paris Saint-Germain. He feels no pressure. They buy Stepancic. They don't need him. They have Remeli. He comes into the French national team. He fits in like a glove. I mean, this kid's unbelievable. He's unbelievable. And I mean, you look at this team and you think to yourself, the only issue they have is the goalkeepers. That's their issue, in my opinion. And I think we saw in the World Championship that Dinard wasn't afraid to give Thierry Omeyer the hook when he needed to. And I thought Gerard was absolutely phenomenal for France, but he's not at Paris. He's down in Montpellier, right? Yeah, right. So there you go. So that's their issue, Paris. And by the way, Barcelona has one of the best goalkeepers at the moment in Perez de Vargas. I thought he was sensational again, the World Championships. And Kiel, with Wolf and Landin, have got to be considered one of the best goalkeeping duos in the world of handball. They're sensational, those two.
Chris, Kevin mentioned the word unstoppable with regard to Paris. Would they be on top of your personal power ranking as well?
Well, I mean, if you get a recent the World Championship, it's hard to Dominik said earlier that after the World Championship in 2007, he felt on top of the world, and I'm sure that's how all of these French players who play for PSG feel right now. As Kevin also mentioned, they have Aaron brothers with to deal with fairly easy as well. They can show a lot of first places that we won't happen. I think that's Barcelona's, but they have to fancy themselves from the last 16 onwards. And I think they nothing really gets up and then you can't say anyone is unstoppable in the Final Four. We thought last year that Vesper were unstoppable in the Final Four, and we all know how that ended. So, unstoppable for the group phase, yeah, unstoppable for the probably, but that's all I can think.
Thomas, we know.
You had to clarify. I only know like half of it, but I think I got the tip.
basically, Chris said. Basically, Chris is an Irishman, everybody, and Irish people always think something can go wrong. So he basically said, yeah, great chance in the group phase to really push it. Knockout phase, almost 99%, but when it comes to the Final Four, who the hell knows? But Thomas, I mean, the good news for us is we have a man sitting here in Braga, playing for Nantes, who was coached by Noka Serdarusic. So we can ask Dominik what he's like. What does he bring to this Paris team? Because not only does he have great players, but what's his style of coaching, Dominik? What's how does he deal with these stars, and how does he keep them focused after something like the World Championship?
I think the most important for Noka Serdarusic is that it's discipline. The discipline and on the field, but also outside the field, and he has in Narcisse one of the greatest players, and also one of the greatest players who have the feeling for the teammates. And I talked to Noka last year in the Final Four. What he do with his team, with all the stars. Because now you heard at the World Championship, for example, Mikkel Hansen, Luka Serdarusic is the best trainer he ever had.
Wow.
And he just play the first season with him, and he saw lots of other trainers. And he also had a great success with the national team and with Paris and Copenhagen, for example. And now they're coming with his rules, with his discipline on the field. And I think that this answer from Mikkel Hansen said everything about him.
Yep. It's interesting, Thomas, eh? Best coach I've ever had.
Kevin, quick look back at yesterday's games and Group B, because we haven't really talked about Group B yet. Leuven suddenly beat Kiel. Szeged loses against Brest, and suddenly everyone can finish at any possible place. If I ask you now, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 at the end
That's the hardest question ever.
Yep.
I don't know. I wish I could. It's like to me, should finish it, even though they lost yesterday. I watched the game yesterday, and Kielce didn't look like Kielce. If you see what I mean, they were, slow. They didn't defend particularly well. And I was impressed. Usually Ryan Carleton win by only one game after struggling, whereas there, Ryan Carleton had the control. That was surprised, and I hope for talent for Kielce that this isn't like what his team is going to look like in 2017. I don't know. It's really a hard question to make Kielce look favorite to finish first. I'd say actually Vardar finished second, and Reinecker third, and Szeged fourth. But just because a lot of its players experience of like this knockout games, and these games get everything at stake. But that's just to get, ask Tom and ask Chris, and even if I ask you, we'll probably have all different opinions, I think.
But I'm sure Tom, you got all of it.
I got all of it, yeah. And basically, Kevin just said what I've been tweeting for the last year. Well, since the group phase started, which is that all the teams in Group B are really trying to annoy all the people who bet money on games, because nobody seems to be able to determine who will win what. Just on last night's game, I mean, Meshkov Brest absolutely were brilliant. They were really, really good. And it's strange for me to say that about and I put in inverted commas, I know they're not Russian, but an Far Eastern kind of European team, that style. I thought they were excellent. I thought Pesic in goal was great. I thought Shilovic was absolutely brilliant. The left-hander who was playing in the centre, he was great. And for Ryan Neckarleuven, and this is an interesting one, because I want to ask Dominik this, because I think this will be an interesting one for us. First of all, Palika was amazing in goal last night against Kielce, and Dominik played with him for many years, so he knows what he's like. And Andy Schmidt came out afterwards and said, "Hey, you know what? I feel like a new man. I've had 6 weeks off. My body just feels like I'm at the start of the season again, and I felt great." But Kiel had won. I remember talking to Dominik in a hotel room, and I said to him, "Oh, how many titles have you won, Dominik?" And he kind of laughed and said, "Oh, I can't remember." And then he said, 9 out of 10 or something, or 12 out of 13. It was ridiculous. And so you have this situation in Germany where nobody was able to win the title, And I think Ryan Neckarleuven for so long, that's what they wanted. They wanted that title. Now they have it. So maybe we're seeing a Ryan Neckarleuven, and I was critical of them. Maybe we're seeing a Ryan Neckarleuven that is now saying, okay, you know what? Now we can have a go at seeing how we do in the Champions League. Because I think before that it was always, we're in it, okay, but we need to win the Bundesliga, particularly after the year, Dominik, where you guys won by plus 2 goals or 3 goals at the end. Would you see it that way, Dominik? Now that they've won the Bundesliga, is Ryan Neckarleuven maybe able to push?
It's right what you say about the season after this horrible win of the league. I heard that Nikola Jakobsen just focused on the Bundesliga to win this, and now I think the Bundesliga is for the teams in Germany priority at the top.
Yeah,
but now of course they want to make. On German, you say Vollgas. Try to beat every match, to beat every team. Also in the Champions League, and
okay, Vollgas.
They are in the group where they come to a good position to go forward to the final four. But you saw also in the first half of the season that the Champions League matches are not the best of them.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he's right, Thomas. We don't know at Ryan Neckarleuven what we're going to get still. But they looked good last night against Kielce, I have to say.
But I want to say also something about the Rhein-Neckar Löwen, because it's also they have to play the matches in Frankfurt.
Yeah,
so
not
it's
so easy.
also not the same for them. Yesterday, I think they play in Mannheim again, and it's their hometown and their home fans. If you have to drive to a home match for 1 hour, and there are just 1,000, 2,000 people there, it's not quite easy.
No, it's true.
Chris, last night's game, Rhein-Neckar Löwen a surprise package still? You don't know what it is, or a team to watch?
Rhein-Neckar Löwen. Yeah. I expect more inconsistency than the rest of the season. Like we've seen, they've some games even winning away, but some games still turn on. I think in Kiel will take it, and then behind them Vardar, and then Rhein-Neckar Löwen. Them finishing third will give them a tough last 16 quarterfinal. If they do make it through to the final four, they will be a surprise package. I think the quality of the team is good enough to make it there, but I don't know if they have the consistency. So yes, they will be a surprise package if they make it there. Whether they will be the surprise package, I don't know. I'm not so sure.
Well, there would be plenty of more games to talk about, but as we've already crossed the 1 hour mark here, let's focus on the final four. And Tom, because you hear me, you can.
Because we had the 1 hour mark. And I want to ask one question for the last minutes.
Absolutely, go ahead.
Please, Tom, can you do your microphone off when other persons talk? Just for the last round, because we heard I saw every time you when Thomas and the other ones will talk. And then maybe it's a better connection. But the answer of you is now, so I heard you perfect. If you start.
That like suddenly something changed. Like suddenly I hear you like crisp and clear, not like Praga.
Maybe it was Tom's fault.
It was Tom's fault.
Yeah, all the time for the last hours it was just his fault.
It was all the time. I guess it's glad that he turned his microphone off. He can't hear anything.
Perfect.
Right. Turn it on again. Yeah, that's all bad again.
You guys are really, really mean.
Did that before.
Final four participants.
Final four. Good Lord. Just because Dominik's sitting there, I'm going to say Nantes. No. God, that's really, really. I have no idea. I think that Paris Saint-Germain and Barcelona, maybe. God. Oh God.
I've never seen you that answer.
Well, the thing about it is that, do you remember last season when Group B was playing and everybody said the Group B were rubbish in comparison to Group A, and then it ended up that Group B won the Final Four with Kielce. It's kind of similar like that now. I'm looking at Kielce, Szeged, Leuven and Vardar, and I'm saying, are any of them good enough to beat the other guys? And I'm saying no. So actually, I'm going to go for 4 teams in Group A. Barcelona, Paris, Vesprem, and one other. I don't know who the other is.
Kevin?
I'll say Paris, Vesprem, Kielce, and I think I would be surprised as every other year. So I'd say Vardar for the first time.
Okay. Chris?
I reckon it's going to be Barcelona. They'll beat Kiel in the quarterfinal. Kielce will beat Flensburg. PSG will beat Rhein-Neckar Löwen, and then Vardar will beat Vesprem. So Barcelona, Kielce, PSG, Vardar.
Dominik, are you happy?
If you say that, if you say in the quarterfinals against Kiel. So I had the chance to play against Kiel, right? So that is a good motivation for me to go to the quarterfinals against Barcelona, for the last 8 against Barcelona, and after to go to Kiel, and then it's just near to Cologne. So for us, is the way clear as the club first time history in the EHF season. So in Cologne, maybe you have a seat nearby your commentator places.
We will reserve one for you. Yeah.
Thomas, before you go, I know Chris is doing match of the week this week, and it's a juicy game. But next week I'm going to Kristianstad. First time ever in the history of the Champions League, we're going to Sweden. Just saying.
With you.
Huh?
With you.
Yeah. I'm going up to Kristianstad as they play Rhein-Neckar-Löwen.
All right. Well, that needed to be said, but match of the week on Saturday, 5:30 on EHF TV with Chris. Next week, Sunday, 19th of February, match of the week with Tom in Kristianstad.
Thank you.
And then after you come to Nantes.
Sorry, what group are you guys in again?
Maybe for the playoffs.
The winning group.
By the way, can everybody see this lovely photograph from Nantes? Thank you very much. No. Dominik, were you texting me while you were on the show?
All right, guys. Thank you very much for joining the Hangout, despite our small technical difficulties. As I said, tune into ehfTV.com for tomorrow's match of the week in Veszprém. Also, then again, obviously, for Sunday in a week's time, match of the week with Tom. Thank you for following our Hangout today. Have a great Friday, great weekend, everyone. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.